What if the universe is not a collection of separate worlds, but a single living reality where matter, spirit, time, and meaning are entangled like waves in one ocean? Long before quantum physics spoke of interconnected fields and hidden dimensions, Ibn Arabi described a cosmos where every realm mirrors another, and nothing exists in isolation. Ibn Arabi invites us to look at the universe not as a mechanical structure of distant objects, but as a dynamic web of meanings unfolding from a single source. In his vision, existence is layered, not fragmented. The physical world, the imaginal realm, and the spiritual domain are not separate universes stacked on top of one another. They are interpenetrating dimensions of one reality, each revealing the same truth in a different language. At the heart of Ibn Arabi's cosmology lies the principle of Wadat al-Wujud, the oneness of being. This does not mean that everything is God in a crude or material sense, but that all existence is a manifestation of the one reality appearing in countless forms. Just as modern physics suggests that particles are excitations of underlying fields, Ibn Arabi teaches that forms are expressions of a deeper, unified being. Multiplicity is real, but it is a real that never escapes unity. In this framework, the worlds are interconnected through correspondence and resonance. The material world is not cut off from the spiritual, it is its reflection. The unseen world is not distant. It is intimately present, shaping what appears in time and space. Ibn Arabi often speaks of the universe as a mirror in which God contemplates his own names. Each realm reflects certain divine qualities more clearly than others. Yet all mirrors face the same light. One of the most profound dimensions of Ibn Arabi's cosmology is the Alam al-Mithal, the imaginal world. This is not imagination in the modern psychological sense, nor is it fantasy. It is an objective realm where meanings take form and forms carry meaning. Here, spiritual realities become visible, and physical realities reveal their inner essence, in striking parallel to quantum theory where particles behave as both waves and points. Ibn Arabi's imaginal world dissolves rigid boundaries between matter and spirit, form and meaning. In this interconnection of worlds, causality is not merely linear. Events in the physical realm are influenced by realities in subtler dimensions. Intentions, symbols, and spiritual states are not secondary or subjective. They are active forces within the cosmic order. Ibn Arabi's universe is participatory. Consciousness is not a byproduct of matter, but a fundamental dimension of existence. The knower and the known are entangled, each shaping the other. Time itself takes on a different character in this vision, rather than a straight line moving from past to future. Time is a series of renewed creations. Ibn Arabi describes existence as being recreated at every instant, a continuous unfolding of divine self-disclosure. This resonates uncannily with modern ideas of a dynamic universe, where reality is not fixed but constantly emerging. Every moment is new, and every world is reborn in each breath of existence. Human beings occupy a unique position within this interconnected cosmos. Ibn Arabi calls the human the microcosm, a complete summary of all worlds. Within the human being, the physical, imaginal, and spiritual realms meet. This means that knowing oneself is not a private psychological exercise, it is a cosmological act. To understand the self is to glimpse the structure of the universe, because the same patterns that govern the cosmos are inscribed within human consciousness. This is why knowledge, in Ibn Arabi's sense, is transformative rather than merely informative. To know the interconnection of worlds is to become responsible for how one moves within them. Ethics, spirituality, and cosmology are inseparable. Every action in the material world sends ripples into subtler realms, just as inner states eventually crystallize into outward realities. Nothing is isolated, everything echoes. What makes Ibn Arabi's cosmology feel strikingly quantum is not that he predicted scientific theories, but that he shared a similar intuition. Reality is relational, layered, and deeply unified beneath apparent fragmentation. Separation is a function of perception, not of ultimate truth. When perception is refined, The walls between worlds become transparent. In the end, Ibn Arabi is not merely offering a map of the universe, he is offering a way of seeing, a vision, in which the cosmos is alive with meaning, where every world speaks to every other, and where the human being stands at the crossroads of heaven and earth. To enter this vision is to realize that we are never outside the universe looking in, we are woven into its very fabric, participants in a cosmic conversation that has no beginning and no end. Multiplicity is the most obvious feature of our everyday experience. We see countless objects, beings, events, and forces, each appearing separate, independent, and self-sustaining. Ibn Arabi does not deny this diversity. Rather, he asks us to look more deeply into what makes multiplicity possible in the first place. For him, the many worlds do not exist side by side as isolated domains, but emerge as different faces of a single, underlying reality. What we call separation is not an error of the senses, but a limitation of perception, a veil that hides unity, all allowing forms to appear. In Ibn Arabi's vision, existence itself is one. Being is not divided, even though its manifestations are innumerable. The physical world, the unseen spiritual realms, and the subtle imaginal domain are not fragments of existence, but modes of its self-disclosure. Each world expresses the same reality according to its own capacity, much like one light refracting into different colors and passing through a prism. The colors are real and distinct, yet they never cease to be light. In the same way, multiplicity does not contradict oneness, it reveals it through differentiation. This understanding radically transforms how causality is perceived. Instead of seeing events as chains of isolated causes and effects, Ibn Arabi presents a cosmos where every occurrence is connected through a deeper unity. Causes operate within worlds, but their ultimate origin lies beyond all worlds, in the one being that continuously brings existence into presence. What appears as fragmentation in time and space is, at a deeper level, a single act of manifestation unfolding in countless forms. The universe is not assembled piece by piece, it is revealed moment by moment as a coherent whole. From this perspective, the idea of independent existence becomes a useful illusion rather than an ultimate truth. Things appear to stand on their own, but, in reality, they borrow their existence from the one at every instant. Ibn Arabi describes creation as a perpetual renewal, where nothing possesses being by itself. Every entity is like a wave that has no existence apart from the ocean that gives rise to it. The wave can be named, observed, and measured, yet it never escapes the sea. Its individuality is real, but its independence is not. The multiplicity of worlds follows the same principle. Each world has its own laws, experiences, and forms of awareness, but none of them are cut off from the others. They interpenetrate through shared origin and continuous dependence. The material world reflects spiritual meanings in dense form, while the spiritual world contains the archetypal realities that shape what becomes visible. Between them lies a spectrum of subtler dimensions, all linked by the same current of being. Separation exists only at the level of form, not at the level of essence. Ibn Arabi's insistence on unity does not flatten the richness of existence. Instead, it deepens it. When multiplicity is seen as an expression of oneness, every difference becomes meaningful. Diversity is no longer random or chaotic, but intentional and expressive. Each form reveals a specific divine name, a particular quality of the one reality that could not be known without distinction. Without multiplicity, unity would remain hidden. Without unity, multiplicity would be unintelligible. This vision has profound implications for knowledge and consciousness. Knowing something is not merely collecting information about an external object. It is a meeting of manifestations within the same being. The knower and the known are not absolutely separate. Their encounter is made possible because both arise from the same source and remain connected at the deepest level. Knowledge, therefore, is a form of recognition, an uncovering of unity beneath apparent difference. Ethically and spiritually, The oneness behind multiplicity reshapes responsibility. If all beings share one reality, then harm dawneth imaginal. Realm in Ibn Arabi's Cosmology is one of the most subtle and misunderstood dimensions of existence, yet it is the key to understanding how worlds remain connected without collapsing into one another. He refers to this realm as alam al-mittal, a domain that is neither purely material nor purely abstract. It is real, objective, and ordered. Yet it does not obey the dense limitations of physical matter. In this realm, meanings take shape, and shapes convey meaning, allowing the invisible to become perceptible without losing its spiritual depth. Unlike modern imagination, which is often reduced to fantasy or subjective mental imagery, Ibn Arabi's imaginal world exists independently of individual minds. It is a shared ontological space where spiritual truths become accessible through form, dreams, visions, symbolic encounters, and prophetic experiences all unfold within this realm. What makes it a bridge between worlds is that it translates spiritual realities into images that consciousness can grasp, while simultaneously refining material forms. By reconnecting them to their inner significance, in this intermediary dimension, opposites that seem irreconcilable in the physical world coexist without contradiction, form and meaning. Spirit and matter, unity and multiplicity are not locked into rigid categories. A reality can be simultaneously symbolic and real, fluid and structured. This flexibility is what allows the imaginal realm to function as a connector rather than a divider. It ensures that the spiritual does not remain inaccessible and that the material does not become spiritually opaque. Ibn Arabi explains that every physical form has an imaginal counterpart, an inner reality that precedes and sustains its outward appearance. Before something becomes fixed in matter, it exists as a possibility within the imaginal domain. This does not mean that matter is unreal, but that it is the final condensation of a much richer process of manifestation. The imaginal realm acts as a womb of forms, where meanings are clothed in images before they descend into the sensory world. This perspective radically alters how symbols are understood. A symbol is not a mere representation pointing to something absent. It is a presence that participates in the reality it signifies. When a symbol appears in the imaginal realm, it carries real knowledge, not metaphorical decoration. This is why Ibn Arabi insists that true understanding requires interpretive insight rather than literal fixation. To read the imaginal correctly is to move between worlds without confusion, recognizing form without being trapped by it. The bridge-like function of the imaginal realm also explains how consciousness interacts with the cosmos. Human perception is not confined to the physical senses. It extends into imaginal perception whenever meaning is grasped intuitively, whenever insight arrives clothed in image rather than argument. The human faculty of imagination is not a creator of illusion, but a receiver tuned to this intermediate world. When disciplined and purified, it becomes a reliable organ of knowledge, capable of perceiving realities that reason alone cannot reach. In this sense, the imaginal realm protects both transcendence and immanence. It prevents spiritual realities from being reduced to material objects, while also preventing the material world from becoming spiritually empty. Without this realm, spirit would remain too abstract and matter too rigid. With it, the universe becomes intelligible as a continuous spectrum rather than a broken hierarchy. Each level communicates with the others through symbolic correspondence rather than physical intrusion. Ibn Arabi's imaginal cosmology also dissolves the modern tension between subjective experience and objective reality. Visions, dreams, and inner experiences are not dismissed as private psychological events, nor are they accepted uncritically. They belong to a real domain with its own laws and criteria of truth. Their validity depends on clarity, coherence, and alignment with higher realities, not on emotional intensity or personal preference. Through the imaginal realm, divine names and attributes enter the cosmos in differentiated forms: mercy, wisdom, power, and beauty do not descend as abstract concepts, but appear as lived realities, events, and encounters. The imaginal world allows these qualities to be known without being confined. It is the language through which the unseen speaks to the seen, and through which the seen remembers its origin in the unseen. By situating the imaginal realm at the heart of cosmic interconnection, Ibn Arabi offers a universe that is symbolically alive. Every form becomes a doorway, every image a threshold, every perception a potential crossing between worlds, where meaning is never lost and form is never found in Ibn Arabi's vision of existence. The human being occupies a position unlike any other creature, not because of physical superiority, but because of ontological comprehensiveness. The human is described as a microcosm, a complete summary of all levels of reality gathered into a single form. Whatever exists in the vastness of the universe also exists, in a more concentrated and conscious way, within the human being. This is not a poetic exaggeration, but a precise metaphysical claim about structure and correspondence. The cosmos unfolds across multiple worlds, each revealing a particular dimension of being, yet no single world alone can reflect the totality of divine attributes. Stones reflect stability, plants reveal growth, animals express vitality and desire, angels manifest intellect and obedience. But only the human being brings all these dimensions together. Within the human are matter and spirit, instinct and intellect, imagination and reason, limitation and openness. This inner plurality mirrors the multiplicity of the cosmos itself, making the human a living map of existence. Because of this comprehensive nature, self-knowledge becomes the most direct path to understanding the universe. When Ibn Arabi echoes the ancient maxim, whoever knows himself knows his lore, he is not pointing toward psychological introspection alone, but toward ontological recognition. To know oneself is to recognize the layers of reality operating within one's own being, from bodily sensation to imaginal perception to spiritual awareness. Each layer corresponds to a world, and by becoming conscious of these inner worlds, one gains insight into the structure of the outer cosmos. This correspondence also means that the human being is not a passive observer of reality. The worlds are not simply out there to be studied, they are actively present within. Consciousness, human awareness participates in the unfolding of meaning. Perception is not a neutral, recording device, but an interaction between levels of reality. What is perceived depends not only on what exists, but on the capacity of the perceiver. As inner perception expands, reality itself appears richer and more interconnected. In Ibn Arabi's Cosmology, the human being is the locus where divine names become fully manifest. Every creature reflects certain divine qualities, but only the human has the capacity to reflect them all, though never simultaneously or exhaustively. This potential is what grants the human both dignity and responsibility. To actualize this potential requires balance. When one aspect dominates at the expense of others, the harmony of the microcosm is lost and the human becomes fragmented, reflecting distortion rather than unity. Imagination plays a crucial role in this microcosmic function. It allows the human to move between worlds without collapsing them into one another. Through imagination, spiritual meanings are perceived without being reduced to physical images, and physical forms are understood without being stripped of depth. This makes the human a bridge, not only within the self, but within the cosmos as a whole. The human stands at the intersection of heaven and earth, capable of translating one into the language of the other. The idea of the human as microcosm also redefines ethics. Actions are not merely external behaviors with social consequences. They are movements within the cosmic order. When a human acts unjustly, the imbalance is not confined to society or psychology. It echoes across worlds, disrupting correspondences that should reflect harmony. Likewise, ethical action restores balance, aligning the inner microcosm with the greater microcosm. Moral responsibility, in this sense, is cosmological responsibility, knowledge. Therefore, is inseparable from transformation. To truly know one's place as a microcosm is to undergo a shift in being. Information alone cannot accomplish this. What is required is refinement of perception, discipline of desire, and integration of inner faculties. As the human becomes more unified within, the worlds appear less fragmented without. Unity is not imposed on reality. It is uncovered through inner coherence. In this vision, the human journey is not an escape from the world, but a fulfillment of it. The purpose of existence is not to abandon multiplicity, but to recognize it as the articulation of unity through the human form. When the human realizes this role, the universe is no longer a distant mystery, but an intimate presence unfolding within every breath, thought, and act of awareness.